On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, in front of a noisy Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas, we're diving into the Oklahoma City Thunder getting crushed by the Dallas Mavericks and a very interesting Nikola Topic injury.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. We're here talking about the Thunder's second preseason game of the season. Music blaring in the Dickies Arena here in Fort Worth, Texas, where we saw Cooper Flagg's debut. He was blistering blaring in the second quarter. We also didn't see much from the Oklahoma City Thunder as they limited their roster. They had 12 guys sitting out tonight, including Nikola Topic. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you find us. I appreciate you every dayers. Make sure that you're ready for Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time, our Locked On Thunder live show every Tuesday and every Thursday and Monday at 2 p.m. Central Time, every Thursday and Monday at 2 p.m. Central Time. Nikola Topic, though, was the biggest story of the game, and he didn't even play because hours before the game tipped off, we had word come down from Thunder PR that Nikola Topic had a testicular procedure. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. No idea how this happened, no idea what happened, no idea what this is, but 4 to 6 weeks honestly shouldn't change too much for the Oklahoma City Thunder on the court in its rotation. We talked with Brandon Rabaul yesterday, recapping game number 1, about just how limiting his opportunities might be early on in the season and how beneficial it could be for him to play in the G League to start this season and take a similar track to some of the young stars that went before him in Oklahoma City. But now he's officially off the board 4 to 6 weeks. And this is a guy who, of course, dealt with the ACL injury that held him out all of last year, now has to deal with this injury to start this season. It's a bummer for him personally, and you wish him the best in this recovery process, which I imagine is going to be gruesome to recover from this. But in all likelihood, 4 to 6 weeks, the reevaluation date will come and go, and hopefully all things cleared for Topic, and hopefully he's back on the floor. But again, as far as night one, opening night, the first month of the season, as far as all that goes for the Thunder, this should not shape much of anything. I do still believe that Nikola Topic is a valuable player for this team. I do still believe that they have a strong plan for Nikola Topic. Now, I don't know what that plan is, but it can be a layered onion of a plan, because you can also see how in that one preseason game, he impacts the offense as a passer, throwing out dimes that no one else on this roster can do. And if they can get him up to speed on the other stuff about his game, he can then be a part of this Thunder rotation more long-term. But that is a bridge that you cross once you get there. And in the meantime, this will not hinder the Thunder from winning basketball games early on in the season. But it is tough for Nikola Topic, and the Thunder had to play down 12 guys of their 21-man roster. So they were running on fumes, second night of a back-to-back at that, and they were still able to compete. Now, if you turn this game off at halftime, you might not have seen them compete because they got down by 30-something points. But they went on a run, and they cut it down to 6 points. They fought for 48 minutes, and they just fall short to the Dallas Mavericks. But I think that another rookie, Brooks Barnheiser, stole the show today, someone who actually played for Oklahoma City. He made Cooper Flagg as uncomfortable as possible as a scorer at times, and he was very comfortable, Brooks Barnheiser was, switching on to point guards and bigs and wings, and he was very, very good at being a versatile option for this team. And that's the kind of competitor that he is. He puts his body on guys, he boxes out, he walls up at the rim, he puts his nose into plays, and he's just a scrappy defender. He has an awesome ability to recover to shooters. I think that his on-ball defense really pops, and that's what really draws a lot of attention for what he's able to do and accomplish so far as a prospect. But when you're talking about his scram switching ability, when you talk about his ability to limit oppositions off the ball and just snuff out possessions, he does that at an exceptional level as well, flying all around the floor. With Brooks Barnheiser, though, the defense is great, and it's been great since he was in college. It's been his bread and butter. He's got to find some form of an offense and some form of an impactful offense. Now, that's not the end-all be-all for Brooks Barnheiser in terms of the short term. In the short term, no matter how good or bad he is offensively, he's only going to get spot minutes because the roster is that deep. But in those spot minutes, he's going to play elite defense. Therefore, you're not too concerned about his offense because that's what he's in the game for. Long term, though, he's going to have to find a way to impact offensive basketball and keep himself on the basketball floor and in rotations. One way he can do that is by being a better cutter. There were a few times where his location and his timing on cuts was really good, but his head wasn't around. He wasn't ready to receive the basketball, and they couldn't do anything with that really good cut that could have led to easy points. He'll get that as he gains chemistry and as he gains comfortability with the guys around him and just finds his way overall offensively. The one thing that he did do really well offensively, though, was his ability to see the floor. And that led to some easy assists. I mean, he had one where he pops it out to Chris Youngblood in the corner for a three, which at the time felt big as the Thunder were mounting this comeback. He also had the assist of the game, the play of the game for Oklahoma City, which is not saying much whenever they get down by 30, but this was a rebound off of an Isaiah Joe Hail Mary three at the shot clock. He rebounds it with one hand and in one fluid motion, kicks it over for a triple for Oklahoma City, and that was a big deal. So his connective playmaking is the one thing about his offensive game that he can highlight and he can lean on to support him when he's on the floor, along with his elite level defense, which is what is going to be his ticket to getting on the floor. Now, he did hit a three this game. The three-point mechanics, I mean, get ready to learn Chip England, buddy. I really think that Brooks Barnheiser has to go to the school of Chip England and has to rework his shot in some ways. As we like to say in a lot, he's got a hitch in his giddy up. And that was very obvious in this game. It's a bit too slow, especially whenever you play against normal NBA defenses, which the Mavericks played their guys for the first half. But for the majority of this game, they did not play their guys. And that shot was good enough to get off in this setting, not good enough to get off in the regular season, and especially not in the postseason. So he's going to have to eventually in his career rework that three-point shot, but you can take bits and pieces of his game. Like, he should have had more assists than two today because that's how good he was at getting the ball where it needed to go. And sometimes he gets some hockey assists, and he's capable of making some nice passes. And then defensively, he's capable of just suffocating you. And then offensively, we've talked all about what he needs to work on and what he needs to improve upon. But I thought overall, this was an encouraging sign for Brooks Barnheiser. Overall, this is like what you would sign on the dotted line for Brooks Barnheiser, a number 44 overall pick, to be as a rookie. And so you will see how the Thunder can progress with him. But the Thunder have an exceptional track record of being able to develop guys just like Brooks Barnheiser, and they might have found another one with this guy. Coming up, let's talk about Usman Jang. Let's talk about Jaylin Williams, who went out with an injury. Let's talk about Point Cason, all coming up. But first, I want to say right now, but our friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today because FanDuel is awesome. The NFL season is in full swing, and FanDuel is offering you a cannot-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put $5 down, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Go there right now and check them out today because if you're into the NBA and that's all you're really into, they still have options for you. You can go bet on opening night with the Thunder 8.5-point favorites. You can go bet on who's going to win the NBA championship this year. You can also bet on the NFL, which will be right back in action on Thursday. Go check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day here, talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks. In this preseason game, the Mavericks were victorious, and the Mavericks did play their guys. This was a fun event for Dallas. We'll talk more about that coming up. But we talked about Brooks Barnheiser. Let's talk about Point Cason Wallace. Cason Wallace rejoins this trip after not heading to Charleston. This was a chance to see him play the point guard. He was the only guy out there who you'd really have any trust or semblance of trust with him having the ball in his hands. But overall, you have to be encouraged with what Cason showed you because it was such a dramatically different role than what the best version of this Thunder team needs from him. The best version of this Thunder team is not going to have him taking pull-up dribble threes. But you do want him to experiment with that in a game like this in Dickies Arena, which will be long forgotten about in a matter of 2 weeks. So you want him to take advantage of this opportunity that he had to work on being a true point guard as a break glass in case of emergency option. But the things that popped tonight are the things that are translatable. I thought that he attacked switches really well. He went right after Dwight Powell a couple times whenever Dwight Powell had him on an island, finished over him, got a foul. There were still some drives where perhaps he settled for a floater and could have been more explosive. But I thought that even that shot diet was different than what we've seen in years past for Cason Wallace. So it was way more aggressive, which is what he talked about at Media Day wanting to improve upon. And I think that he did that. I think that every time he got downhill hard, it worked. And that's what you have to continue to beat into his head of just, hey, if you are athletic enough to do this, you're athletic enough to succeed at this, and that's the best version of you, which makes it the best version of the Thunder. And with Cason, the granular takeaways is more so just about how strong he looked getting to the rim, because his offense is going to look completely different. He's going to have more cuts. He's going to have more spot-up shot attempts. It's just not a one-to-one, even close to one-to-one, relationship with what he'll do in a couple of weeks. So I don't take the overall box score to mean anything for Cason Wallace except for those things that stood out. But that's Cason Wallace. That's point Cason Wallace. And I think that, much like the dreams of Terrence Ferguson, point Cason Wallace is not ever going to be who he evolves into in his NBA career, even though he has a point guard background. And we've talked about him improving his playmaking. I think that he's shown you through his first 3 seasons in the NBA that his best role is as an off-ball player. Now, can he lean on some of those background skills of being able to play better with the ball in his hands off the catch? And that opens up playmaking opportunities, absolutely. But in terms of an initiator, Cason Wallace, this is just not a role for him. And it's not a role that's going to be required of him once this roster is whole. So I thought overall, despite, some complaints about his box score and the fact that he shot 3 for 14, I thought overall it was a good night for Cason Wallace. And it was a really difficult night for the entire Thunder roster because of that fact of he was your point guard and he was your only point guard option. And it looked really rough whenever anyone else but Cason was initiating, but also Cason Wallace initiating isn't what he does. And so they were put in a bind there. Jay Will did leave the game with a bit of a leg injury, but he came right back and he played the rest of the game, played the rest of his allotted minutes that you would imagine he'd play in a preseason game anyway. So it seems like they've avoided anything there with Jay Will's injury. But man, he made some great passes tonight. I mean, he set up the HOs very well. He had a beautiful skip pass to Zach Austin, wide open in the corner from the opposite wing. And that shot falls if he has an actual NBA player with him and he has an actual NBA shooter with him. And so I just think that you can take little bits and pieces from Jay Will's first 2 preseason games and see how he's improved. Tonight, there was a play where I believe it was Lively that chased him off the line. And so you got to see him try to put to work this slimmer frame that he spotlighted as him wanting to do that because he wants to be able to attack guys who come out and try to run off the 3-point line, which he expects to have happen to him this season compared to previous ones as teams catch up to how good of a 3-point shooter that he is. He shot 4 for 11 tonight from 3 after a 5 for 8 outing yesterday in Charleston. That's a good game for Jay Will overall. 14 points, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists from him and 2 blocks. He also drew a charge in this game. He was all over the place. And I thought that overall you could see a level of defense that even on that Cooper Flagg bucket, which was Cooper Flagg's first NBA bucket here in Dickies Arena in the preseason, Cooper Flagg had to maneuver through Jay Will and around Jay Will to get the bucket. But picture perfect defense in terms of forcing him to alter a shot. Sometimes, though, this game is so good, the players are so skilled, sometimes they're going to be able to alter their shot and still score. And then you just want to see Jay Will be in proper positioning and have a proper level of competitiveness. And I think that that's what you saw tonight from Jay Will and from this Thunder team. And overall, if you're one of these people who are sitting back, and especially if you turn this game off before the Thunder made their run, and that was, of course, coinciding with Dallas taking their foot off the gas and putting in their backups, you might be asking yourself, why did the Thunder's offense look so bad this game? Well, first of all, Dallas and Oklahoma City are 2 of the best defenses in the NBA. 2 of the best defenses in the NBA. I would place a wager very strongly that they both finish inside the top 5 in the league defensively. So a Thunder team that was down 12 players and their most important players and their most important offensive players, yes, they're going to struggle. Point Cason Wallace was their only real option at point guard. They did not have guard depth on this team. The shooting dried up. They shot 40% yesterday as a team from beyond the arc. Today, they shot 27% from 3. That's just not going to go into an pleasing style of play. But you have to give this Thunder team credit for that 30-13 run in the middle of the third quarter, middle of the fourth quarter. It ended. Shots started to fall during that span, and it got them back in this game. But they dug themselves too deep of a hole to really, truly overcome against these Dallas Mavericks. So I think that overall, the Thunder will get to regroup after today. They'll have a couple of days off. I imagine they're going to practice Wednesday and have a complete day off on Tuesday. And then Thursday, they're back at the Paycom Center. This is just speculatory, but it would make sense to me if they play their actual guys. And we're talking Shea and Chet and the rest of those guys on Thursday against Charlotte, because it's at home. And you have a couple more preseason games at home. So it would make sense if their plan would be to only play their guys at home. I don't know if that's their plan. I don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play Thursday, but perhaps Thursday could lend itself to a more interesting game in the preseason from that standpoint. But overall, the compete level has been there. And what's been so impressive has been the systems. Like, if you really dive in and watch these games and watch how they're operating offensively and watch how they're switching and playing defense, it is identical to how they design things up throughout the regular season. And that level of buy-in and that level of grasping concepts so quickly, especially from the training camp guys, has been impressive. And that goes into what we talked about last week with Joe about the continuity among this coaching staff, and the continuity amongst this coaching staff in the sense of who they send to coach things like Summer League. Because these guys who are in here for Summer League got a jump start into learning these systems, and they've been with them ever since, in the training camp now and preseason now, and we'll see what they end up doing. But there is still the question of who will get the final two-way spot for this Thunder team. And despite a bit of a step back from three, I still believe it's going to be Chris Youngblood. I'll tell you why coming up. But first, I want to say right now, our good friends over at Monarch Money, folks, go check out Monarch Money, because Monarch Money is incredible. Most people can't even name all their financial advices and accounts, and so they can't tell you what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments. When you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. They're an all-in-one personal financing app that gives you your full financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your computer. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, so you can put off organizing your finances. Monarch is there to do it for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. That way you can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear-cut data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Go check them out today at Monarch Money, because I love the fact that Monarch Money gives you that categorization of your spending. That way you know exactly how much you're spending on things like subscription services, on how much that you're going out, and you can make sure you make the proper adjustments if you need to with Monarch Money. So do not let financial opportunity slip through the crack. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com on your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, here talking about the Thunder's preseason game against the Dallas Mavericks. Chris Youngblood, another good game from him beyond the box score. Like, obviously, it was not the 5 for 8 that he shot in Charleston, but he did hit timely threes when the Thunder were on the midst of making their comeback. He ends up with 2 of 8 from beyond the arc and 2 of 10 overall. He also had 3 rebounds, an assist, 3 steals, and a block with 6 points to go along with that. Look, shooting is naturally volatile. Like, there's a whole reason why that's the biggest point of emphasis for Mark every time he's asked about three-point shooting, both in a positive context and a negative context, whether it goes against the Thunder or for the Thunder or anywhere in between. He always points out just how variant it is. And you're going to have nights like this where you can't knock down 4 for 8, where you can't shoot efficiently. However, the quality of those shots, the process of getting those shots was still there. This was not a guy who saw the pumpkin go in the patch one too many times last night and just started chucking. He stayed within himself, and he got clean looks curling off of screens. He did a great job with the HOs, and he's a great relocator, especially relocating as a reset option off of an offensive rebound to find a passing window and allow the team to find him to get an easy shot on the second chance. They didn't go in tonight at a big enough clip, but for all those reasons, that's why you want to see Chris Youngblood on a 2-way contract. And it's not just for the Thunder. Yes, the Thunder overall at the varsity level do lack enough shooting. Unless some guys make some jumps this year, which we expect could happen, they lack shooting. but also at a developmental level. Because I still believe, and I could be wrong on this, I could, but I still believe Nikola Topic will play some with the blue. And having a backcourt mate with him that can really maximize his playmaking like Chris Youngblood will just make everything run smoother and will just let you have a cleaner picture of what exactly Topic is doing in the G League and allow you to try to translate it cleaner to when you think it's appropriate to take something away from it at the NBA level. So I'm curious what they do with Chris Youngblood. I will say what also helps his case is that right now he's in the right spot defensively. And I think that he can at least be a below average defender, somewhere between the below average and above average defender mark, which is sounding like a backhanded compliment. I know that, but there's a big difference in being a below average defender as a three-point shooter or being what some three-point shooters are, and they're just awful defensively, and they just cannot stop a traffic cone out there. So he's never going to be elite. Like, he won't be on that end of the spectrum either, but I think that he can fall somewhere in this gray area of average, above average, below average, and with this roster construction of him always sharing the floor with truly elite defenders, you've got to be able to protect a guy like that. If you get an average defender who at least puts himself in the right position to compete, you've got to be able to protect that guy with the four other guys around him whenever you're the historically great defense. So, again, this third two-way spot is not so much about the Thunder themselves. It's more about developmentally. But no matter which part of the puzzle you want to look at, whether it is the Thunder or it is the Blue, Chris Youngblood fits the bill for this two-way spot. Ousmane Dieng knocked down a three early, had a good hustle play early to race down the floor and take a backcourt violation instead of letting Cooper Flagg have that breakaway dunk. Overall, Ousmane is not going to have a night in the box score, 4 for 14, that you're going to write home about. He had 12 points, he had 7 rebounds, he had 6 assists, he had 2 steals. But what you are going to write home about is the N1 where he showed animation running into the stanchion. You are going to write home about the rebounds. He really put his nose into plays and played physically with those 7 rebounds. And some of them, of course, were tap outs. He had 6 assists as well. He was just more engaged in this game and more consistently engaged in this game than what has been his reputation as a player. Also on those misses, for example, the deep mid-range two, is that a shot that you want in Ousmane Dieng's shot diet? No. You really don't. But the fact that he's willing to explore that and the fact that he's willing to just, without hesitation, take that shot is a completely different sign from Ous than what we've seen in the past. It's a completely different version of Ous than what we've seen in the past from him. So I imagine that's still an encouraging point for this Thunder team who've been trying to get him to become a more aggressive, a more forceful player for this team and a more consistent player for this team. We'll see what the rest of his preseason holds. Of course, he has a long way to go before he can truly, make it as a rotational piece. But the rebounding stuff, the defensive stuff looked good from him tonight. That's about it from Dickies Arena tonight. Of course, we're still going to have for you Locked On Thunder 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And after every single game, we also have launched Locked On Live, which will begin Thursday at 2 p.m. Central. And also from that point forward will be Monday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Central on Locked On Thunder's YouTube page. After the live stream is over, we'll upload that to your favorite podcasting feed so you can still enjoy the show if you didn't get to catch it live. You can also go to Locked On Thunder's YouTube channel and go to the live tab and watch any of the previous lives that we've done. We've done one so far with Derek, but Derek Parker and I teaming up to do Locked On Thunder Live in addition to the 5 day a week plus every single game recap. So plenty of content over here. You can go check out Thunder on SI. You can go check out OKC Dream Team for more of me, and head up Twitter at Rylan_Styles. What I want you to do right now, if you're listening to this show, I want you to drop below your question or your hot take, either in the YouTube comment section or on Twitter at Rylan_Styles. And I will be reading them. I'll be reacting to them. I'll be answering any questions that you have on tomorrow's show. So tomorrow's show is all about you. Wednesday's show we'll have Justin Martinez in with us to talk about this preseason so far and what to expect for the regular season once it gets here of the Oklahomans. So make sure you tune in for that. Thursday night, we'll be recapping another preseason game. So that's going to be your 5 shows this week. Plus on Saturday night, we're going to recap the Pacers game. So the 6 shows this week, plus the 2 live streams. Make sure you're tuning in to Locked On Thunder anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.